Dr. Sharif Abdullah offers a unique, hopeful, and visionary perspective on the persistent challenges of our time. His perspective is shaped by his urban upbringing of poverty and violence, his Ivy League education, and his work with impacted communities in America and in 45 countries around the world. His spiritual outlook is rooted in the consciousness of dozens of religions, faith traditions, and spiritual practices. Sharif offers this unique viewpoint, helping us chart a course that explains where we've been, where we are now, and how we get to a positive future that works for all living beings.
Hello, Sharif here. And today is the third video in our series of trying to unravel this weird issue that we've got regarding what are our true problems, what are our true challenges, what should we be addressing, and where does our vision lie? Today, I want to speak very carefully because I want you to follow this. But I want to talk to you about the difference between identity and behavior. A lot of what we've been doing, we've been talking about the negative behaviors in our society. But a lot of what we've been doing has been focusing on identity instead of behavior. We've been looking at not the negative behavior. We've been looking at attributing that negative behavior to a certain group or a certain class of people. If you've been using terms like white privilege, white supremacy, white domination, white fragility, white violence, that's like going into Baskin Robbins and picking out one flavor of their 32 varieties of ice cream and saying, we're only going to focus on that one. I was trying to get into Guatemala some years ago. I was on the border between Belize and Guatemala. And these guys who call themselves government agents, but were probably just bandits, stopped my vehicle and said, we have to spray your tires for insects. Now, the border between Guatemala and Belize is in the middle of a jungle. There are millions of insects in the air flying back and forth. And this guy's standing there with a can of Raid, and he wants to charge me $5 per tire to spray my car. I declined. But if we're serious, we're going to spray all of the billions of bugs in the air. If we're serious, we're not going to focus on white supremacy. We're going to focus on supremacy. We're not going to focus on white privilege. We're going to look at how privilege affects our entire lives, all of our lives. We're not going to focus on white violence. We're going to focus on violence. I want to read to you from a recent email that I received, and I won't disclose who I received this from. They were asking me to the quote was, how do you deal with the continuing right-wing violence in Portland? My response was really short. I said, I assume you meant devising ways to eliminate the right-wing, left-wing, anarchist, no wing whatsoever violence plaguing Portland. Stopping right-wing violence is like damming half of a river. And we've been focusing on half of the river because it's comfortable. And these are the kinds of things that we talked about in some of the prior videos. So looking at the differences between identity and behavior. Identity is who you are. It's all of the different aspects that make up you, that make up me. Some of your identity was given to you by your genes, and you've got absolutely nothing to do about it. Uh, some of uh, these aspects of identity have to do with your history. A history that started before you developed the ability to think rationally about it. You started acquiring your what I call deep identity from the time you were born, and before you were born, you were acquiring aspects of your identity. Those parts of your identity, those parts of your culture, you lack the capacity to even think about. It's driving you, but you're not in a position to even think about it. Now, identity is different from your behavior, what you choose to do, how you choose to behave in the world. And as you know, large parts of your behavior are pretty much automatic. How you interact with other human beings, how you interact with yourself, how you interact with your family, all those things are pretty well determined for you. But even when they are determined, you have a choice of what you're going to do about it. You've heard me say that as I am acculturated to being a male in a sexist society, therefore, my sexism is inbred. It's inside of me, the same way that it's inside of every male who is acculturated in this society. Now, there may be people in this society who didn't receive that acculturation. Therefore, they either don't have sexist behavior that we would call sexist, or they have a different kind of behavior that we would call that would be sexist inside of their society. So I get it. This is part and parcel of me, but I can make a choice, and I choose not to act on that knee-jerk, semi-conscious sexism that I was taught as part of my growing up in a sexist society. Similarly, whites who are acculturated in this society are acculturated as racists. It's part of the air that you breathe. It's how what you think of the systems and structures, what you think of as normalcy, it's racist. Get over it. Let's recognize, just like I recognize that my sexism comes as part and parcel of the society I'm raised in. I'm not going to bog down in it. I'm not going to feel bad about myself. I'm not going to do a continuous level of workshops and seminars, etc. I am going to recognize that when my behavior falls below my standard, I am going to be aware of it. I'm going to do something about it. I'm not going to allow myself to get beaten up by others who may have an agenda that is not for my good and not for my highest good, and not really for the good of others, just to play this really interesting game that we got going now that I call gotcha. Oh, you said the wrong thing. Your eyes looked in the wrong direction. You meant to do such and such. You didn't mean to do such and such. And holding me or holding others to a standard of perfection that no one can achieve, and not doing it because this is the way we make a better society, but doing it because, I got you. I can do this. It's not helpful. It's not positive. It doesn't get rid of the behavior. It just simply drives it underground. And it produces the backlash that we're also experiencing in the society. Those who care about me, if they see me making a mistake, they will say off to the side to me face to face, did you mean to say that? Did you mean to articulate that? Were you aware that when you said X, somebody in the room heard that and took that in a way that you may not have meant? And that gives me all of the opportunity to understand my behavior, to let go of the behavior, to adopt, to try to figure out how to adopt some different behaviors, etc. But for those who are trying to hold others to a standard of perfection that they themselves cannot meet, all they're doing is perpetuating the behavior, and they're doing that by trying to make me or someone else feel blamed, shamed, guilty, and defended. Now, feeling blamed, shamed, guilty, and defended creates the kind of society I don't want to live in. That's not my society. And I don't care whether or not it's someone who would be coming down on me for being acculturated as a male in this society, or coming down on a white person for being acculturated as a white person in a racist society. By all of us recognizing that the seeds of the problem are in my heart. The seeds of the problem are in the hearts of each and every one of us. That no one has escaped this. It may look different in white people than it does in Black people, and it may look different in Black people than it does in Hispanic people. It may look different in with Hispanic people than it does with Asian people. It may look different if you are young than when you're old, but everybody's got it. And all of us can help each other get rid of it, but we cannot even begin to help each other as long as I've got an analysis that's blaming you for being a product of your society. We have to set goals and values. We have to have a common vision, a vision that has nothing to do with our identity, a vision that transcends identity. Listen to Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech again. We, by overly focusing on the white aspects of things like privilege, supremacy, domination, fragility, etc., that we're not looking at eradicating behavior, we're looking at trying to eradicate people. Number one, it ain't gonna work. Number two, you are going to be responsible for all the pushback that you generate when you talk about a vision that is at the expense of the other. And however you characterize the other, white people, the police, Black people, the poor, however you characterize that, you're going to be creating people who either are going to be walking around feeling guilty, feeling blamed, feeling shamed, feeling defended, or people who are feeling angry and are pushing back at you instead of joining with you. This means that you have to reformulate your goals in such a way that everyone can participate. I want to wrap this up with a quote from Nelson Mandela, and if I may share my screen with you. During my lifetime, I've dedicated myself to the struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against Black domination. I've cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for, but my Lord, if it needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. Now, I highlighted the part where he said, I fought against white domination and I have fought against Black domination. It would have been easy for him to say, Black people rule and white people have no place in this society. You all have to move. It's a much more complex society to say, we all need to fit into this. We all need to be cognizant of this. We all need to be part of the same society, even though we've held positions that are diametrically opposed to each other. That's the hard part. That's the part that actually gets you to a unified society. The easy part is for us to point the finger over there at those people over there and say they're the ones that have to change. It may seem impossible for that to happen. And that leads to my last quote from Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it's done. So when we do this, when we actually create the world that works for all, when we actually create the society where all of us are pulling together, all of us are recognizing that each one is the victim of this society, some more than others. And each one of us is the villain in the society, some more than others. That when we do this, and all of us get our getting gear towards letting go of whatever's happening with us, letting go of my violence and helping others get rid of their violence, letting go of my domination or my desire for domination and doing that with others, letting go of my supremacy and encouraging others to do so, then we get to the world that actually works for all beings. I was about to say, if you agree with this, I would like for you to hit the like button and the subscribe button. But even if you don't agree with it, and you can see from some of the comments, I get some substantial pushback. Still like it and subscribe to it. We are engaged in a conversation about the future of our society. Let's stay engaged. Make a copy of the URL and send that to a bunch of people that you think can hold a conversation and say, let's talk about this together. Thank you.
You are invited to participate in the discussions and activities that will define a positive future for all. We are at the cusp of the expansion of our human consciousness beyond the limitations of our past. Together, we can envision a world that embraces our human potential. Together, we can create a world that can truly work for all living beings.